In the last episode, we visited the Bow Key shipyard. In this, we will show our project upgrade electrical system with lithium batteries and solar panels. Welcome to Sailing Yacht Frida of Visby. We left our hectic business life to go sailing with Frida of Visby and our cat Litsa. Our goal for the spring 2021 is to reach the Mediterranean Sea. The electrical system on a sailboat seems to be a never-ending problem to get enough power to all the modern appliances. So in this episode we want to show you how we combine old batteries, AGM, with lithium batteries and solar panels. Let me first take you back to July 16, 2020, when we sailed from Samham in Stockholm Archipelago to Windbor in south of Gotland. It was during this sail we discovered we had a problem with power supply. During this long night sail we had almost perfect wind conditions, so we have been sailing all the way and not used the engine. And then Anders discovered that he had problems to use the electrical furlings we had on board, and that the battery levels was alarmingly low. We actually had to start the generator to get enough power to control the sails. So, when we sailed from Samham to Windbor, we discovered that the boat actually draws quite a lot of power by itself for the lanterns and navigation, etc.
Yeah, due to that this boat has so much electronics, and we're also charging a lot of computers and cameras and everything, and having electric furlers, having electric winches, having autopilot, we often draw quite a lot of power. And when the power usage has been too strong for too long, then the voltage drops. And when the voltage has dropped too much, then the furlers doesn't work anymore, so you need to charge again. And we saw that problem after we've been sailing for like 12-14 hours in a row, without mostly by night, having lanterns and everything on.
And we had perfect wind conditions, so we were sailing.
It was really nice. So it was stupid to put the engine on only to get electricity. So that was the starting point, and we already, when we bought the boat, felt like we probably need to add electricity to it in some way, and that's what we found then, that it was time to do. What we want to do with this boat is, of course, we want to have the generator still there, but we want to find a way to run it as little as possible. Yeah, so the first step was to add batteries, and of course what we could have done, due to that AGMs only, I want to take care of stuff, so I don't want to run the AGMs lower than 60%, and as you all know, AGMs are really hard to use to get up to full 100%. So you're really swapping between maybe 80-85 at the maximum, and I want to stop discharge them when they're down to between 50 and 60. It's a really small amount of those 840 amp hours that you really can use. So lithium is a much better solution, but we didn't want to throw away the AGM. So what we did was to add 400 amp hours of lithium to the already existing house bank, but as you also know, you shouldn't mix AGMs and lithiums. So we came up with a solution where we can use both in a smart way. And I'm planning to show that a little bit later on a drawing.
So now we are in the galley, and this is the old house bank with the AGM batteries, some of them. There is also underneath here.
Yeah, you see 3 out of
6.
6, so there are 3 more under there.
So this is a bank that we didn't want to throw out. because it was pretty new. But when those batteries are done, theirs, it will probably be changed to.
We're putting lithium in here too.
Yeah. So.
And then we don't really need that feature of DC to DC charger because we can charge it off.
Okay, welcome to our bedroom. But
yeah, exactly.
here beneath our bed, Anders is going to show you what we have.
Yeah. So we added 4 100 amp hour lithium batteries. Here are 2 of them, and 2 of them are under there. And they're laying down, but lithium is okay to have upside down even if you want to. So you would never be able to do this with a normal lead battery, but lithium is okay to lay down. So there are 2, and there are 2 more over there. So we're
Beneath there.
Under there, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're in parallel, so they're together 400 amp hours. And what we have here, in here we have a 50 amp 12 volt master volt charger, and in here we have a 30 amp DC to DC charger. So that DC to DC charger takes the power of the lithium batteries and send them to the AGM batteries that's under here. So everything is still taking power from the house batteries, but the house batteries are charged at the maximum 30 amps from that. As soon as I take anything out of the house batteries until the lithium batteries are down, then the house batteries has to take the rest of it by itself. And here is, I should put this in something to keep it's dry in here because it's our bedroom, but still it should be in a box. I haven't done that. It's still a part of the project. Those 2 things here could get pretty hot. So I have a fan installed here that sucks the air out of here, and underneath here is the bilge, a part of the bilge, which is the coolest thing in the boat. So when I take the air out here and blow it out in the bedroom, new cold air will come from the bilge up through this and keep things cold. And that is checking how hot it is in here, and when it gets above 28 degrees in here, it starts those fans, and as soon as it drops down again below 28 degrees, then it stops the fan. So we can sleep in here without having the fan on.
Yeah. It says 11 at the moment. Is that the temperature?
That's the temperature. So it's pretty cool because the water around us is cool, and under us is the bilge, which is close to the water.
And you have so that you can check the temperature on.
Yeah, all the batteries I can talk with the Bluetooth to all the batteries, so I can check the situation on each battery. I also have a probe sitting here, to a Victron probe that gives me both temperature and the power of the lithium batteries and the power of the house batteries, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So I can manage everything over my iPad,
which is very convenient since this place is not so easily accessed. So now we will rebuild our bed. We started the installation of the solar panels, and the first task is to align them on the roof. We have chosen flexional panels since the roof is slightly curved. Can you walk me through a little bit? Where are we? What are we doing?
We're placing the solar panels and thinking through how to get the cable from there down here without cutting too much. Thinking about maybe trying to turn them around and use those channels. But I'm not sure if I can get from there to there. Yeah. Question is, how will I make sure that it's not tangled with everything else?
Yeah.
That's the trick.
What's the other idea you had?
The other solution would be to use what's now and go through here. Cut out a small piece here of this that holds the bimini and go here.
The spray hood.
Sorry, the spray hood.
Yeah.
Go through here on both sides, just straight on here, and then go on the inside of the bimini, and then continue the spray hood to go down there, which is the plan. I want to go down there anyway, because I have the cables. The rest of the cables we have been connecting is just below there, in front of the winch. So I think this is the best solution.
Yeah, I think so too.
We found a way to get the cables from where the solar panels would be down. So now I'm taking 4 cables, 2 positives and 2 negatives, to behind all the walls and stuff. That's a job for a while.
Yeah. It took almost all day yesterday to find the path. It's always tricky to draw cables on a boat, but with the help of the string, we usually manage to get it through. Då börjar jag dra. Där tar det emot. Men jag drar ändå. Jag ser en kabel! Jag har tag i kabeln. Jag har tag i... Då drar jag. We mount the flexible solar panels by tying them down instead of gluing them to the roof. Due to that, we might change our mind when we have built the proper arch in the aft with some solid solar panels on top. Anders is cutting a little gap in the track for the spray hood, so we can get the cables through without damaging them.
Oh.
Is it finished?
No.
Okay.
But I'm getting tired.
Should I see if I can find some coffee?
Take a short pause. Coffee is always a good thing.
Coffee break. Fika. Det var inte lätt att filma.
Inte lätt att göra heller, ska du veta.
Connect the different wires. So this is the cable coming from
The solar panels. I'm going back to the batteries under the bed.
yeah. Okay. Here is Anders taking apart our bed for I think it's the 3rd or 4th time in this project.
Absolutely.
But today we are at the stage of connecting all the wires.
Yes,
So hopefully
so that's the plan.
we hope it will be a little bit of sunshine, because hopefully this afternoon we will have our first sun electricity. And you don't have the best
Not the-
working
not
position.
Absolutely the nicest working position, no,
Well,
but it works.
yeah.
Okay, I promised to show you a little drawing on how we've set up the system, and that's the plan to do now. So this is the setup the system had when we bought it. So it was 6 very new 140 amp hour AGM batteries, and it had old AGM batteries that we now swapped to 2 new 100 amp hours AGM batteries to the bow thruster. Everything else except the bow thruster and starting the main engine and starting the generator, everything else is taking power out of the house batteries. So all 12 volt users and the inverter. So that's charged in 2 different ways. It's charged by the main engine and its 70 amp alternator charging the batteries, and it's also charged if you have shore power or if we start a generator through a 50 amp charger, 220 to 12 volt charger into those batteries. So that's the setup we had. Okay, so this is the new setup. You recognize some of the stuff still the same as that we had, but we have added 100 amp hours lithium times 4, so 4 of them, so we're adding 400 amp hours of lithium. We've added a DC to DC charger with 30 amp. We've added a 50 amp charger. It's the similar one to that one, but that's charging the lithium. And we've added 2 150 watt solar panels on the roof, 2 of those with 1 solar charger each that charges the lithium. And we've also added a DC to DC charger over here so that we charge the AGM batteries. So the idea behind this setup is when we are running our generator, it really produces 7 kilowatt, and if I wanted to charge the batteries in the past, I ran the generator creating 7 kilowatt and only used like 1 kilowatt of that, 50 amp hours at 12 volts is like 700 watts something, 700, 800 watts needed to get down to the batteries, and the rest was no use. So by adding another charger and also charging up the lithium at the same time, everything when we charges twice the speed. Another thing with AGM batteries is that I really don't want to charge them below 60, and when you get up to 80 they are really slow to get from 80 to 100. By this system, lithium eats everything it can get from solar and charge up as much as possible. The DC to DC charger is always on, always there to push those batteries up to 100%. So even if that takes 8 hours or 10 hours to get them from 80 to 100, they will get up to 100 because that is like going on all the time. When you're running the generator, when you get the AGMs up to 80%, I mean, giving you 7 kilowatts and only taking like maybe 10 amps or something like that out to put it into the battery because they're so slow to charge at the end, it's not really efficient. So that's the idea behind that. AGM batteries really love to be close to 100% full most of the time. Lithium batteries are happy to cycle between down to maybe 10-20% up to 100%. So as long as they're not super full, so they really cut off by its BMS, every watt that you're able to get from the solar panels will get down to the lithium batteries, and they will be discharged all the time through the DC-DC charger over to the AGMs. And as soon as you put out some type of take from the users or the inverters or whatever, if it's below 50 amps and there's still anything left in the lithium, then the AGMs will be staying at 100%, because they will be charged in the same speed from the DC to DC charger as the user are taking it out of them. So that's the main idea behind everything. And the DC to DC charger here will give those AGM batteries a perfect charging situation, which it didn't have in the past when it was planned in the boat to be in parallel with those. But it seems like on this boat it's not even set up in that way, which means that they're not charged at all. So after a while we have no power there and the bow thruster stops working. With this setup it will be on all the time.
Hey, thank you for watching this video, and as usual please give us a thumbs up, and remember to subscribe and hit the little bell button, etc. And if you have any
ideas or thoughts about how I was thinking here, and if it was a smart way or if it was a stupid way, please leave a comment and let's discuss it.
Yeah, so we can all learn and get inspiration from one another.
Okay, thank you for the day.
Bye.
At least Litsa is interested.
When they're down,